Hello, I'm Marcy McCarrow,
Hello there, I'm Carol Cooper.
and we're here today with Daksha Patel from Your Mind at Work. Hello, Daksha.
Morning, Marcia. Morning, Carol.
Daksha, could you give us, please, your website address, your email address, and any other contact details that you might have for us?
Yeah, sure. So first of all, thank you, Marcia, for inviting me to come onto this webinar and speak to you. My business is called Your Mind at Work, and the website address is www.your-mind-at-work.com. And the best way to get hold of me is just to pick up the phone and give me a call. So my best number to contact me on is 0781 579 3597.
Fantastic, thank you very much. Daksha, can you start by sharing a bit about your background and the services that you have to offer?
Yeah, so my background is mainly public sector organisations, a bit like yourself, Marcia, which is where we met. So NHS, local authority, I have done some management consultancy. But since setting up Your Mind at Work, so the services that I actually offer are very much based on coaching and training and consultancy.
Fantastic. Was there a turning point, Daksha, in your life, maybe such a circumstances, incident, reflection, that made you want to explore the field of people's minds at work in this way?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've always been really interested in personal development right from a young age, right from when I was a teenager. And a lot of that came about because of my background, Asian female, growing up in a family and a culture and traditions that are very strict, have some very clear guidelines and rules about how you should live your life. So I got into the whole world of personal development because I wanted to learn how to express myself, make sure that I was able to express my voice and be heard. But I guess the main turning point of how Your Mind at Work came about was when I was working as a contractor with the local authority, and that contract was coming to an end. I decided that it was the right time for me to set up my own business around training and coaching. And I got a lot of experience and expertise behind me. And I thought, great, I can do this. I'm going to open up shop and everybody's going to be really interested in the services that I have to offer. And it was really exciting at first, knowing that you're going to be self-employed, you're going to be working for yourself, you're going to be your own boss. So really excited, really proud of myself. And then a few months on, I could see that I was getting very frustrated, very disillusioned. I was getting very overwhelmed. And as you know, Marcia, when you're self-employed, you have to wear many, many hats. So I came to this huge realization that I had no idea about social media, no idea about networking and sales and marketing and websites. And there was just so many things that I had to get my head around. And what happened was, after a couple of years of slow progress, I thought to myself, maybe I'm just not cut out to be, running my own business and being self-employed. And I was ready to throw in the towel. And I thought, you know what, I'll go back and do what I know. So maybe I just will find a job working for a public sector organisation again. And what happened was I was listening to a podcast, and the podcast was an interview with Dr. Joe Dispenza. And there's a saying, isn't there, that when the student is ready, the teacher appears.
Absolutely.
And he really was my teacher. And as I was listening to him, he was talking about our mindset, he was talking about habits, he was talking about our patterns and our subconscious programming. And it was like he was talking about my life. And I was having all these light bulb moments, all these aha moments. And I just thought, oh my God, he's talking about my life. And it made me realize why my life was the way that it was. It was like I could see exactly how I had reached this point in my life. So I did a deeper dive into his work, and as a result of doing that work, Your Mind at Work was born, I guess. That's how it came about.
Fantastic. Lots of good stuff there that we're going to explore further as we go through the interview questions. But is there a motto that you live your life by, and what is it if you do have one?
So I guess I don't really see it as a motto, but when I wake up in the morning, I have my chat with the universe. I run through my core values, and I always finish by saying, so today is a new day, and I'm going to show up as the best version of myself. So I kind of guess that's probably my motto. Just every day making sure that I'm showing up as the best version of myself.
That's nice, lovely, fantastic. Now you talk about that you deliver coaching as well as a lot of other things that you do. Do you actually call yourself a coach?
It's a good question. It really depends on the context. Sometimes I feel like I'm coaching, sometimes I feel like I'm mentoring, sometimes I'm the trainer, sometimes I'm the facilitator. Sometimes I like to think I'm just a bold heart, going out into the world and wanting to make my difference. So it really depends who it is that I'm talking to and specifically what it is that I'm working on.
Yeah. The work that we do is all around navigating change and helping people to look at their direction. And one of the questions that we've asked many times is around that aspect of change. Do you consider that we manage change, facilitate change, lead change, or as we recently were told, enable change? What would you say?
I would say it really depends on who it is that you're talking to, and sometimes it's about using their language and what resonates with them or what's accessible to them. I would say you can. I sometimes I might even say, it's about empowering people to make those changes. I would say sometimes it's about inspiring people to make those changes. But you're right. Sometimes it is about enabling. Sometimes it could be about helping people to navigate. Sometimes it's about helping people to understand change. So I would say you could use a variety of words. I don't think I have a favorite, but inspiring, empowering, enabling, they tend to be the ones that work for me.
I like empowering, actually. That's one that we haven't had so far. I can imagine this list of words getting longer as we interview more people. So empowering change, I do like that. I mean, there's so much change going on at the moment, and we're going through a time of immense changes. What encouragement would you give people that are listening in to this video interview?
It's a really good question. I believe that what we're going through, none of us have experienced before. None of us had anticipated it. None of us could have predicted it. And so I think all of us have been thrown into a situation where we've all had to really dig deep and think about how we all individually navigate this change and what's happening. And from my point of view, I talk, in my work, I focus quite a lot around transforming stress and building resilience and really working on the mindset. And so right now, we're all feeling pretty stressed because we've been thrown into a situation which isn't within our control. It's unpredictable, it's uncertain, and it's the unknown. And all of those things can all trigger that stress response. And so we've all got to find our way of how we're going to deal with that. And there's lots of ways of dealing with that. And, what I would say is, first of all, it's okay to be not okay. What's happening to us is natural. And as humans, we are going to naturally react because we've been thrown into a situation which is almost, right, we've got to get into this survival mode. So now we're in this survival mode. How are we going to get through this in the best possible way? And so when we're in survival mode, we naturally trigger that stress response because the brain naturally thinks something horrible is going to happen to us. We're in danger. So it will naturally want to protect you. And so, going at this moment right now, what I would be saying to people is it's quite important to get perspective. Because if you're trying to predict what's going to happen, you're going to just feel even more stressed because none of us can predict what's going to happen. A lot of that isn't within our control because it's the government, it's the policies, they're making those decisions. It's the advisors who are talking to the politicians. So it is about keeping perspective. Some of it is also about, well, what can you focus on where that is within your control? And there's a lot of things that are always within our control, but sometimes we don't always see it. There's also something about, I do a lot of work around breathing, and sometimes just taking 5 minutes out of your day, just taking that time to just breathe, what you'll probably find is it naturally calms you down. And when you feel in that state of calm, when you're feeling a bit more in control, when you're feeling more composed, you get a different perspective, you get a clearer perspective. And often you may even come up with ideas or options that you hadn't even thought about. So it is important to do that. Gratitude is a really big one for me. I know everybody's been affected by this in their own individual way. But when we just sort of take 5 and we think about what are the things that we can be grateful for, there's a lot out there that we can be grateful for. So it's really important to focus on that too. And then, just don't give yourself a hard time. Ease up on yourself. Don't criticize yourself. I think it's easy to look at other people and go, oh, they seem to be coping really well, and why aren't I coping, and why am I freaking out and nobody else is? Believe me, everybody is being affected by this, but in their own way. So it's not about being hard on yourself. It's not about being, self-critical. There is a reason that you feel this way. And a lot of it is to do with the fact that we are biologically, physiologically, neurologically hardwired to experience those emotions. So we just need to ease up on ourselves, really.
Actually, that's fabulous set of information there. That's really good, and I've taken some notes down, and we'll be sharing those back with you at the end in terms of what we've taken away. My final question before I flick on to Carol, who's going to pick up: where have your influences and your inspirations come from?
A variety of sources, As I say, growing up, most of my influence and came from books that I was reading. So I read all the time. I'm always reading some sort of personal development or personal growth book. So I read all the time. Some of my inspiration and influence comes from watching movies. So, I'm a big Star Wars fan. I think George Lucas was totally ahead of his time when he created those movies.
Totally agree.
I'm glad there's a fan in the room. Yeah, so the Star Wars movies, even some of the Star Trek movies, I would even say like the Harry Potter movies, and also Lord of the Rings. They're probably my favorite movies, where there's so much inspiration in them, and there's so many little nuggets in there that you think, wow, that's still true for everyday life right now. I followed a lot of experts in the field, personal development trainers and gurus. You've got people, obviously Dr. Joe Dispenza, but then you've got people like Greg Braden and Bruce Lipton and David Hawkins and, Anthony Robbins, and there's just a huge number. But I would also say that a lot of my inspiration also comes from people that I know on a personal level. I lost my brother a good, 16 years ago. He was a huge inspiration in my life, So a variety of sources, I would say a variety of sources. People really inspire me. People's stories really inspire me.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Daksha. And Carol.
That was great. I really thoroughly enjoyed listening to that. Well, all of it, but that last bit was really good. Daksha, can I just ask you, were there many people that have had a real significant impact on your journey, both positively and negatively, because that happens all the time? And if so, can you please tell us about them and why?
So these are people who have had an impact on my life, Carol?
Your life, yes.
Yeah, gosh, I would say my parents have probably been my biggest two. As I mentioned earlier, growing up in an Asian family, religion was a big part of that, culture and tradition. So they were the things that really influenced my upbringing. My parents very much influenced my thinking from a very young age. And I guess throughout my life, my my upbringing has probably had the most impact, because like with anything, sometimes parents will do their best with the information and the resources that they have at the time, but we don't always see it like that. And I guess for me, the biggest kind of turning points in my life has been when I've been able to revisit some of those events and situations in my life and really think about that. And instead of just focusing on, well, that was just really awful, or that was a horrible experience, actually flipping it and thinking to myself, well, what was the learning here? What were the benefits? You know, what did I learn about that situation, about myself? And as I say, you know, people often say, you know, do you have any regrets? And I often say I don't have any regrets, because I'm exactly where I should be and need to be right now. And everything that's happened in my life has happened for a reason. So even the negative things, or the experiences where I feel they've influenced me in a negative way, I always go back to those situations and find that seed of positivity, because there's always a lesson to be learned, always.
Totally agree. Thank you, though. That was great. What have been the challenges to getting where you are today, and how have you managed to overcome them?
So I would say my biggest challenge has always, again, linked to my upbringing, where it was just, you know, it was growing up, it was, I could blame everybody. I could blame my parents, I could blame my religion, I could blame my community, you know, I could blame all the people, all the external reasons as to why I wasn't feeling happy, or why I wasn't ahead in my life where I wanted to be. And for me, you know, there was a point, there was a time in my life where I was that victim. You know, I was in victim mode. It was everybody else's fault. It wasn't my fault. And I guess, you know, through the work that I've done and over the years, what I've realized is that actually I have a choice. And I guess for me, that's probably been the biggest pivotal thing in my life, where I have come to realize that I need to take self-responsibility for my life, and that actually I do have a choice about everything. It's just that I didn't always see it that way. And when I made that transition from stop being a victim to start taking responsibility, that was probably my biggest insights, my biggest changes, the reason that my path has changed so many times and I've now ended up where I am.
Right.
It was definitely going through that process of accepting that I don't have to be a victim. I actually have a lot of choice about how I live my life, and a lot of that comes from within.
Yeah, I agree with that, because when you realize you've got choice, that's when you start thinking. To me, when I think, well, I have got a choice here, you know, I can't just accept what everybody's saying to me. So yeah, I totally agree with that. So also, can you talk us through your achievements that you've had throughout your career, and what those achievements, how have they been important to you? What differences has it made to you?
So again, my I guess my understanding of my personal achievements has changed as I've grown up. And I think, you know, when you're young, my parents very much influence my definition of what achievement means. So from my parents' point of view, you go to college, you go to university, you get your degree, you get a good job which gives you a good wage, you get married, you settle, and that makes
Absolutely, that's the path.
children.
And don't sway off that path.
Absolutely, that is your path to success, and you do not, you know, get distracted. You stay on that path.
Yes.
And I guess for me, as I was growing up, and as I kind of started to experience part of the, you know, the big wide world, I realized that actually that wasn't my definition of achievement. But I was being forced down a path that wasn't necessarily in alignment with what I thought. So, you know, I did do all those traditional things. You know, I
Yeah.
did the education, I got the degree, I got the great job, I moved up the career ladder, I got promoted, I did all of those things. Um, so, and I've achieved a lot in my lifetime, you know, and I've still got a lot more to focus on, and I'm still evolving and I'm still growing, and there's so much more that I want to do. You know, I've traveled, I've probably done so much to be proud of. But I guess for me, my biggest achievement and something that I'm probably really proud of is the fact that I've got to a point now where I'm much more clearer about who Daksha Patel is, what Daksha Patel wants out of life, and where Daksha Patel is heading. And for me, achieving that sense of clarity is everything, because what it means is that if I can stay on that path, then every day is a great day.
Wonderful. I'm with you, Daksha, on that one. Most certainly, absolutely. I know earlier on in the conversation, you mentioned that you don't have any regrets. So let me turn that round, because that was going to be one of my questions to you. So just let me turn it around where you're sitting there one day thinking, oh, gee whiz, I wish I'd done that. Is there any point in your life where you've actually thought that, and what difference do you think that would have made to you?
So sitting there and saying, oh, I should have done that, puts me,
I wish I had,
or wish I had done this, or wish I had done that, puts me into a state of mind where it doesn't make me feel good. And actually, the fact that I haven't done it, there's nothing I can do about it. So it's almost kind of, it's happened, it's in the past. So I try not to dwell too much about the past. What I want to do is I want to focus on the present. And so rather than saying I shouldn't have done that, because there could have been lots of reasons for why I didn't do it. If I was really, really keen to do it, I know now that I would have made the time to do it. But obviously, it wasn't that important to me.
No.
And so I didn't do it. And so what I would be saying is, okay, if it was something that maybe slipped through my fingers, or, you know, I didn't make the right decision at that time because I chose a different option or I made a different choice, going forward, how would I do it differently? So if that opportunity arose again, how would I view it differently? Because for me, focusing on regrets or focusing on the past takes my energy and my attention
absolutely
in a different direction that I don't really want to go.
Yeah, I understand that.
Totally agree with that one, absolutely. So if you think about the challenges you've had in your life, what would you say have been the lessons that you've learned from challenges, or just thinking and mulling over what you may or may not have done with the past? What sort of, you know, what are the lessons that you've learned throughout that?
So I would always say, every time I'm faced with a challenge, and I'm still faced with challenges, you know, because as my business grows and I'm growing, I'm still faced with challenges. And I would and at the time, these challenges feel the scariest things. They fill you with fear. You know, a few weeks ago, I did a Facebook Live. That was a huge challenge. I've never done a Facebook Live. I was like, oh my God, how am I going to sound? What will people think? You know, my hair's not quite right, you know. All of these stories, all of these thoughts that you tell yourself. And then you do it. And you kind of go, oh, that wasn't
what was that all about?
What was all that about, you know?
Yeah, I know.
And I think what I would say is that every challenge that I've had, you know, even from when I applied for my first job, you know, that was a huge challenge. I remember I had to do a 2-day assessment, 2 days at an assessment centre, and I had to stay overnight. And I remember I didn't sleep a wink, you know, I was counting sheep, I was doing all sorts of things. I was doing press-ups on the floor to help me fall asleep. I didn't sleep a wink. And then the next day I got through it. I was offered the position and I was like, what was all that about? You know, so for me, you know, there are a lot of challenges I faced, from, you know, doing a Facebook Live to applying for a job to, you know, starting my own business. It's all been really, really scary. And actually what I find is that if we can get ahead of our fears, if we can understand where those fears are coming from and why we feel the way that we feel, the intensity of that challenge dissipates. And for me, I think the crux of everything is, if you can master your emotions, you can master your life, without a doubt.
Daksha, when you were saying that, I was having a little laugh to myself, because I have done the counting of the sheep, the walking around the bedroom, the up and down stairs even, because that tires you out, all sorts of things. And then I got up the next day and thought, I'm not going to do this. And I can't do it. And I've done it. And afterwards, I felt absolutely exhausted. And if somebody put a bed in an office or something, I would have gone and lain on it. Exhausted after it was all over, you know. So yeah, I'm with you then. It just makes me chuckle because we don't all think we're all the same that way, do we? And we are.
We
in
are.
different levels of whatever, aren't we?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And
We
even
all-
now, I would still probably be the same if I was faced with something that, you know, I was really dreading, you know, whatever. So we're talking about our strengths because you obviously have a lot of those. So we all have one strength, one ability or skill that stands out from others. And I think this is particularly so in business, where we're often being asked to do many things as well, varying tasks. What do you consider to be your business superpower and why?
Oh, business superpower. I've never been asked
Go
that.
on, Del.
You could probably have two, Daksha, because I know for myself that you've got a number of superpowers.
I would say, and because this wasn't always, this is probably something that's evolved as I've grown, but I would say that my business superpower is my ability to come from the heart. So for me, one of my core values is being heart-centered. And so heart-centered is very much around, this is where I get to cheat, because heart-centered incorporates compassion and passion and kindness and gratitude and appreciation. And so for me, I always, but even when I'm talking to my business clients, it's about coming from the heart and really understanding, you know, where they are, empathizing. What is it that they need? How is it that I can support them, provide them with the best solution? And I would say that's probably my business power, definitely, that it's about being heart-centered. Yeah.
Mm.
Well, I think it's a wonderful superpower to have because if you're talking about coming from the heart, everything else just fits in.
Yeah.
So it does, absolutely, and totally agree with you, absolutely. But thank you for that, and I'll hand back to Martin.
Yeah, you do walk your truth, Daksha. 100%, 100% on that. You talked earlier about defining or redefining achievements to make them fit into what your mind sees them as. So, in line with that, how would you define success?
That's a good one too. So again, previously success would have been having the nice car, having the big house, and having the lovely holidays, and you know, having lots of money so you can do whatever you want whenever you want, you know. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with any of those things. However, for me, just as I've kind of gone through life, and you know, my mum passed away last year in November, and so I think a lot of times when you have these experiences in life, they provide a good time to just really focus on what's important to you. And so for me, success is really about appreciating the things that you do have in life, definitely, rather than always chasing something, because it's in that chase that you forget to focus on the things that you do have. So I'm all for, you know, wanting to achieve goals, and you know, I want to grow my business, and so yeah, I do have goals and there are things that I'm working towards. But for me, it's about not saying to myself, so when I've achieved that, I will be happy or fulfilled. It's about saying I'm happy and fulfilled now, and with that in mind, I go and achieve what it is that I want to achieve. Because otherwise there's always this gap between where you are and where you want to be, and you're waiting for these external things to happen for you to feel happy and fulfilled right now. And actually, when I look at my life, there is just so many things that I can be happy and fulfilled right now about. So it's better for me to go and achieve those goals in that emotional state, as opposed to saying, well, when I get there, I'll be happy and fulfilled. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Total
Not
sense.
putting your life on hold.
Yes.
You know, to look for success. I think you've already answered my next question, which is, from that definition, which is very clear, do you consider yourself to be successful?
Yes, I do. when I look, when I see, because what I would do is I would look at my 15-year-old self, and then if I went back to when I was 15 and I looked at myself now, I'd be thinking, oh my God, how successful is she? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
But often we forget about where we've come from because we're always striving for that more.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
If you went back to your 15-year-old self, I know that when I went back to if I go back to my 15-year-old self, I would never have imagined being the person that I am today.
Yeah.
So I would say yes, definitely successful. Don't get me wrong. As I say, I've still got goals. I'm growing all the time. I want to grow my business. There's so much more that I want to do.
Absolutely.
But yes, I would say definitely I'm successful.
Absolutely. But in this moment, right now, you can say, yes, actually, I am. And I would agree.
Yeah.
I would totally, without a doubt, agree with that.
Because again, it comes down to what your definition of success is. And if my definition of being successful is every day I wake up, best version of myself, I feel happy and fulfilled because I'm grateful for where I am and what I have and what I do, then I'm successful.
Yeah. I think from my perspective, knowing you and watching the journey that you've had and knowing the contracts that you managed to get and the work that you've done, I'm seeing it from that perspective. So when you put both elements together, absolutely, absolutely, a girl smashed it out of the park, which is brilliant, which is brilliant. So,
Marcy, can I just say as well, I don't want to give anybody the impression that I don't have my down days. I still struggle. I'm still face challenges. Do I get frustrated? Yeah, I do. Do I get annoyed? Yes, I do. I still have all those challenges that everybody has. Do I feel the fear? Yes, I do.
yes.
So it's not that I've mastered any of these things. It's just that what I do have, because of what I teach and what I coach on, I do have the tools and I have the strategies and I have that understanding of what's going on for me. And because I have those tools, I don't stay in that state too long because I can shift myself out of it because I understand what's going on, if that makes sense. But it doesn't mean to say that I don't have those experiences. I do. Trust me, I do.
And all the way through the interview, you've talked about the challenges that you've had and how you've used those to make a better version of Daksha Patel all the way through. And so you can't do that without acknowledging you actually talked about the fear in one of the previous questions. So yeah, I think people will understand that. But it is nice to be able to sit and we're making notes on all the messages because Carol and I are on that journey. And we want to learn from the people that we're interviewing, and that's the reason why we started doing these interviews. We recognize that we also have got a long way to go. There's things that are not working so well in some aspects and the other things that are going really, really well, but it doesn't stop you wanting to grow and move forward and use other people to help you in that process.
And that's a really important point, Marcy, that I would say that throughout my journey, there has been a lot of support. And it's really important to make sure that you have that support. And part of that is about reaching out and saying, do you know what, I'm not coping. I don't know what to do. I need some help.
Absolutely.
And if you're willing to do that, then that will make a massive difference.
Yeah. And having those people that you trust, that you can actually reach out to, that are going to support you without judging you. It's just how it is at that time right now. It's not always going to be that way.
Exactly.
That's the point. What two things would you say have contributed most to your professional success?
Two things. I would probably say my desire and my love and my passion of always wanting to acquire new knowledge. So right from the beginning, my passion for just reading books, always reading books around personal development and wanting to acquire more knowledge. But I would say the other thing, the thing that has probably again contributed the most was the development and the research that's now accessible to a lot of people around how the brain works, so neuroscience. So for me, that whole mind body brain connection around emotions and energy, and how, and we are energetic beings, that has probably been the biggest contributor of my own professional and business development as well.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Daksha. I'm just going to pass you over to Carol again.
It is I.
Hi.
It just Daksha, that just reminds me of the old line, and we've all read it in many books. It's feel the fear and do it anyway.
Yeah.
And that, honestly, when people, it really pleases me to hear you say it. You know, somebody I admire, and obviously a professional lady out there in the field. And you can talk about the fears, and it's important, because as we all have said on screen today and then other days, we do feel that fear, but the achievement afterwards is colossal in whatever you're doing. But yeah, just brought it back to mind, you know, feel the fear and just do it anyway.
And it's a great book as well, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
I've got it in here. In my cupboard. It's in there. So is there a book, talking about books, or an article that you've recently read that has had a significant impact on your journey? And can you please tell us about it particularly and explain the significance to you?
So I would say that the book that has had the most impact is this one. Can you see that?
I can't see the title very well. What's the title, Daksha?
The title is Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself.
Yeah.
And it is by Dr. Joe Dispenza.
Spencer was that, sorry.
Dispenza. So it's Dispenza. So the significance of this book obviously relates back to the pivotal moment in my life when I listened to Dr. Joe for the first time on that podcast, and then he was talking about breaking the habit of being yourself. And so this book I've read, you probably can't see it, but you can see there's loads of highlights in it, and I've probably read it about 7 times. And every time I read the book, because I'm in a different place in my life, I take in the information at a different level.
Right.
So for me, that book has been incredibly pivotal in the way that I conduct myself, the way that I do business. I suppose the other thing that I should add is that because I'm a licensed trainer for Dr. Joe Dispenza, so I can actually deliver his work into the business world, the training that we deliver, and I'm part of a global team, is based on that book. And so it's a really huge part of my life. It's a very significant book in my life, probably the one thing that's pivoted my life the most.
Right, okay. And following on from that, Daksha, so reflecting on all the experiences that you've had, obviously following this book and its significance in your life, how do you think you've managed to support other people to achieve? And in doing so, what's been their feedback back to you?
So once I became a certified trainer for Dr. Joe, it naturally led me on to other things. And so I also became a certified coach for HeartMath. And HeartMath is an organization that does a huge amount of research into stress and resilience. And so what I love about that work is that most of the strategies and tools and techniques are based on neuroscience. So they're very evidence-based, and you can actually, you know, look at the research, and you can see that if you just do certain things in a certain way or apply these certain tools and techniques in a certain way, that it will make a difference, because it is about making that internal change and understanding that mind, body and brain connection as to why we do the things that we do, why we feel fear, why do we get stuck, why do we sabotage our own success. And so because I've been able to share those tools and techniques, what I find, the feedback from the clients, is that you're actually empowering them with the information and the knowledge, But as you know, information and knowledge doesn't bring about transformation.
Yes.
You actually have to do something with that information and knowledge.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
a lot of the tools and techniques require clients to actually put into practice what they've learned. And so the transformation happens when you actually do the work, not when you read the book and put it back on the shelf.
Yeah. When you put it away, you go,
when you put it away and say, well, I've read that once now, I'm done with that.
Yeah.
The actual transformation happens when you put into practice what you've learned. And so where I find my clients get the most benefit is obviously when they put in that practice, and I can build in that accountability and check in with them to say, are you doing the work? Okay, well, what's getting in the way? And then just helping to understand that actually this is a normal process. You know, you're going through a change process, and this is what we experience. We experience that resistance. We experience that uncomfortableness because we're moving out of our comfort zone.
Yeah.
Mind, body, and brain are resisting it because all of a sudden you're asking it to do something that's unfamiliar, and it registers the unfamiliarity as danger. So it triggers the stress response, which means we go back into our own default patterns because that's familiar. So a lot of people will do what's familiar even though they know it's not good for them.
Yeah.
They do, and I
true.
have so many times. I know I've done that over my time in you know, in various situations. I know I've always fought with myself and then thought, no, I'll not do it.
Yeah.
And then you run away and you're in your comfort zone then, and you think you're safe, but you're not really, because you still got to face it. You still got to do something about it. So, Daksha, where do you find your or find contentment professionally and personally?
Where I feel most content is when I know that I've had a conversation with somebody and it's triggered something in them. Maybe it's just given them a little light bulb moment or an aha, or it's given them something to think about something in a different way. And if I can make that one small difference, I feel very happy. I feel very fulfilled. It's for me, it's just making that difference one person at a time. And then no matter how big or small, you know, that could be because they've sat through a training workshop with me, or because they're doing some one-to-one coaching with me, or because I've just had a conversation and I've been able to say something to them that has just inspired them, or it's making them think about how they might do things differently going forward. Yeah.
I think that's lovely, because it's a wonderful moment, isn't it, in your heart? It's just going back to heart, isn't it?
It is.
When you just think you've helped someone, and they go, oh yeah, what a good idea, and you just think, oh well, thank goodness I've been able to not waste their time or give some duff information or just say words. Words, you know. I just think that's absolutely great.
I think sometimes, Carol, as well, it's just about holding that space for somebody. And, you know, for sometimes they just want to talk and they might not want you to say anything. But if you can just hold that space, then to me, that's me being the best version of myself as well.
Yeah. So, Daksha, what does the future hold for our Daksha Patel and your mind at work?
So in terms of the future, I'm not going too far ahead. But, you know, if I was to think about the next year or the next 2 years, what I'm looking to do is deliver more group coaching, and I'm looking to do that more online. I think we're coming out of a very tricky period. We're still in a tricky period. You know, there's a lot of talk about there being a recession, and I think emotionally and mentally, physically, people will need a lot of support. And I, you know, want to be able to support and help in any which way I can, just because of the stress that people are going to experience. You know, people will need to be more resilient. So it's important that people understand that they can do that as long as they've got the right kind of support tools and strategies and techniques, you know, whatever it is that works for them. But for me, going forward, I'd like to think that I can offer my services and help in some way. And as I said, I'd like to do more online. I think this time is interesting because before COVID, I had thought about doing more online, and then COVID hit, and it's made me realize that actually online can work just as well. My preference would always be to do face-to-face, but online can work just as well. So for me, it's really about getting my message out there in a bigger way. So, and again, you know, that means you have to become more visible. And if you're becoming more visible, then you are going to feel more vulnerable. And so there's going to be some fear. So I know that I'm going to have to deal with all of those things. But for me, I truly believe that I have a gift that I can share. And if I can make a difference, then I'm prepared to take that for the team.
Right. Fear is a gift. That's a nice line. That is a really good line, that. Oh, thank you so much, Daksha.
Thank you, Carol.
I'll pass you back to Marcia, but thank you for answering those questions. It was really good. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely amazing interview, Daksha. Thank you so much for giving up your time today. This is the part of the interview where Carol and I go back through our notes and share with you some of the messages that we're taking away. And what I will do is make sure these are typed up for you. Carol will do hers, I'll do mine, so that you've got those as a reminder to use as you see fit.
Yeah.
Before we go into those messages, please can I ask you please to slowly give your contact details again, your website address and your phone number. Guys, get your pen out and log these down. Thank you.
So the website address is www.your-mind-at-work.com. So the business is called Your Mind at Work. And my telephone number, the best number to contact me on, is my mobile, which is 0781 579 3597.
And is there an email address that you're willing to give out at this
Yeah, no, so you can contact me at Daksha Patel, and that's all one word, and Daksha is spelled DAKSHA, Patel, PATEL, and again, so it's Daksha Patel at, so you've got your mind at work.com.
Fantastic, fabulous. So time to come over to us now, Carol and I, to share with you our messages that we're taking away. And I've got a fair few. I will type them up. So I'm just going to go through the ones that have really stood out for me as you've been talking. The first one I want to go to is master your emotion to master your life. That, you know, it says it all right there, doesn't it? Master your emotion to master your life. Because when we let the emotions get in the way, we can't do what we're supposed to be doing and we want to do. So dealing with that. You said from victim to taking responsibility is the reason my path has changed. Absolutely. So that flick from victim to taking responsibility is the reason my path has changed. And I think if we're all very honest with ourselves, we have had from time to time that victim mentality where it's because of somebody else why I haven't achieved. Well, actually, if you start taking responsibility and therefore accountability, your life will start to look different.
Absolutely.
And start to feel different. So I love that one. Out of all situations you find yourself in, whether they're positive or negative, what has been the learning? So looking at all those situations, and I'm thinking now of the conversation you were having based on one of Carol's questions about regrets. It's not about that. This is a message that I'm taking from you. It's not about that. It's about, actually, I was in that situation. What have I learned from it?
Yeah.
That's going to help to propel me forward.
Yeah. Because when you get stuck in regret, there's nowhere for you to go.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I totally get that.
Mm-hmm.
And linked into that, in the chase, you forget about the things you have to do.
You forget about the things that you already have that you can be grateful for.
In the chase, you forget about the things you already have. Yeah, so for me, they're some of the key ones that I'm taking away.
Brilliant.
From you today. Thank you so much. And it's really nice to watch you, did I say that? Or you're having a few moments where your eyes are like sort of, yeah, was that me? Yes, girl, that was you. My interpretation of what you're saying. And this is what will happen to other people that are listening to the interviews as well. So I'll hand over to CC.
Well, Daksha, I have to say, one thing that really did sit well with me was when we were talking about your strength and your superpower, and you were saying that the superpower is when this comes from the heart. What you share with other people, you solely mean, and you're not just delivering something out of a book or a piece of paper or a presentation. It's when you know it so well that how you want to teach is how you feel.
Yes.
So that was really something very strong for me, because I think we all like to think that that's the case. But it made me feel nice. And when I heard it, I thought that is so true. And not just somebody standing in front of a room just talking at people. That happens as well, doesn't it? Absolutely.
Know that. Yeah.
I mean, lots of things around what Marcia said absolutely goes without saying, and that one or two of those could have been mine as well. But the other one was about your motto in your life. You wake up every day and it's a new day, it's a new start, new challenge, and you're not bringing the dross of what happened before with you. You just get up and you think, right, grateful to be here.
Yeah.
Well, we evidently all say our gratitudes every day because things are resonating with us all about in this conversation, statements made and very on, and be the best version of yourself.
Yes.
I thought that was wonderful. That was a really, just a comfortable way of just saying to people, don't stress it. If you just be comfortable with you. And if you're comfortable with you, I suppose everybody else learns more because they relax into you then, don't they? So that really that made an impact on me. And just keep the perspective, you said, and be grateful for everyday things. Be grateful for what you have. Be grateful for what you know and in your heart, and don't just work on that to build your life beyond.
Yes.
I know that wasn't an exact word and a copy of words, but that's what you were saying.
Yes.
You were just telling people to to be content with you and to move on, and not to have this bit in your life where you're thinking, oh, I wish that had happened differently or whatever. Just be happy with you on the day and move forward. So there was a lot of, I mean, there's loads of it.
I know, I've got loads of notes as well. Absolutely.
We're going to have to, as Marcia says, we're going to have to obviously write these down for you and let you have those.
Yeah.
And
definitely.
love the Star Wars story, the Harry Potter story, another favourite of mine, and Lord of the Rings. Love all of that, because you do learn from that, and I do think that, as you so rightly said, George Lucas was ahead of his time. So yeah, that and a lot of other things, and you will obviously get those sent to you. I know, typed up by us, and so yeah, just be the very best of yourself. I think that was the overall empowering thing, and from the heart.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
So, you reminded us of, or reminded me of the phrase that we know about as coaches, but it's almost like a final message here about holding the space. When you said that, I had absolute sort of like tingling, sort of, yes, she's absolutely right. We do. That's what we do.
Yeah.
Sometimes we're not actually doing anything physical with people, we're just holding that space so they can sit in that space and feel safe.
Mhm.
And actually, yeah, that was just a lovely message.
Thanks.
Lovely message, holding the space. A good reminder, because I'd forgotten about that.
Mhm. It's easily done, isn't it?
Yeah, we
It's
do
easily
that.
done.
We do
Yeah.
do that. Daksha, it has been an absolute privilege and pleasure to interview you today and to have this conversation in this depth about the work that you do, because we know what you do and
Mhm.
you've been supporting DYB for a long time in various different ways, but
Mhm.
actually we've never sat down in this way and asked the questions
No.
to get these types of answers. So it's been brilliant. So thank you once again.
And
Thank you, Daksha.
can I say thank you to both of you, because it's really interesting, because as I was answering these questions, I wasn't really sure what was going to come out of my mouth, but actually it's left me feeling incredibly grateful of my own life, you know. It's been a good reminder of how I've got to where I've got to, and you know, yes, there've been lots of challenges, we all have them, but I'm so grateful for all of those challenges because they've made me the person that I am today.
Fantastic. Thank you, Daksha.
Thank you, Daksha.
you.
Our pleasure.
Thank you.